Let's circle back to one of the most important stories of the day. Anil Ambani is, even as we speak, appearing before the Enforcement Directorate in connection with a 17,000 crore rupee loan fraud. And the summons, of course, follows searches that were conducted last week across multiple companies and premises of companies that are promoted by him, and executives also listed or linked to the Ambani businesses have also been investigated. Remember, NDTV Profit has been at the forefront of this story. We were the first to report on the searches at Anil Ambani's premises and the Enforcement Directorate questioning of bankers in the case. We now have 3 of our reporters on the ground at various locations across the country, including the Enforcement Directorate office in New Delhi, including the residence of Anil Ambani in Mumbai, where we have had a reporter on the ground, as well as in other parts of the country as well. But what we're going to try and do for you over the course of the next 15 to 20 minutes is give you some perspective on what is happening today, why there is a questioning of Anil Ambani, and what the implications are from a legal perspective. So let's first go to Aishwarya to give you a sense of what the ED has done, what the Enforcement Directorate has done at this point, so that it gives us a little bit of context on what to expect. Aishwarya.
Right, I'm stationed here outside the headquarters of Enforcement Directorate's office in New Delhi. What we're learning and picking up right now is that Anil Ambani has left the Delhi airport, is on his way currently to the headquarters in New Delhi. The headquarters right behind us. A whole lot of police has also been stationed here for security purposes, and the ED is likely to speak to Anil Ambani as well as some top executives of this particular Anil Ambani group as well. And for context, of course, you have mentioned the case, of course, is one of the biggest corporate frauds recorded to the tune of 17,000 crore rupees. Apart from that, we will also be looking at bankers who have been summoned by the ED, both private as well as public lenders. So that's on the cards, and we'll see and keep you posted on the developments further that happen here at the Enforcement Directorate headquarters.
I will come back to you to give us some perspective on the timeline and the history of the probes. But before we do that, Anushka, I want to come to you. We've spoken over the weekend as well about the lookout circular that was issued and a few of the details on what has been done so far. So you mentioned at the time that there are several pieces of evidence that have already been collected by the Enforcement Directorate. What can you tell me about this body of evidence that they have so far collected?
That's right. The ED has, in fact, recovered, voluminous incriminating documents. Not just that, they have also, in fact, taken a lot of computer peripherals regarding this whole money laundering case. Several of the bank, executives have also been written by the ED, to provide them the, whole report about how the money was, in fact, sanctioned to the Anil Ambani linked groups. There are 3 companies, in fact, who are right now under the radar. That is the Reliance House Finance Limited, Reliance Commercial Finance Limited, and Reliance Communication. ED has, in fact, right now issued a lookout circular for Anil Ambani, and one major arrest has been also, in fact, made in this case. Partha Sarthi Biswal, who's the MD of Biswal Trade Link Private Limited, was arrested. He had given a fake bank guarantee of worth rupees 68 crore to 3 companies linked to Anil Ambani. Not just that, there were several irregularities that was in fact registered at the Biswal Trade Link Limited when the ED went there to raid the Bhubaneswar and Kolkata branch of the office. They found that there were no regular updates about how the office was in fact operating. The ED had found that there were no shareholder register, there was no proper accounting that was done. The turnover of the transaction of the company far exceeded the declared turnover of the company. So that is why this whole arrest has been made. Today there is a possibility that Partha Parthasarathy Biswal will be in fact sitting in front of Anil Ambani while the ED will be questioning both of them regarding this whole case. Not just that, ED has in fact also written to 10 to 12 banks, asking for them and seeking a whole detail as to this whole case. Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Punjab and Sindh Bank, Bank of India, all of these banks have been asked to submit a detailed report. Now, a whole money laundering to the tune of rupees 70,000 crore has been in fact made in this, is being alleged in this whole case. Anil Ambani is likely to appear in front of the ED. We are stationed here.
Got it, Anushka.
And we are in fact
All right.
also showing you the visuals of what this current situation, at the ED office looks like. There is a
Got it, Anushka. So let me go across to Shrimi Chaudhary, who's also joining us from New Delhi. Shrimi, a couple of questions arise, and specifically, I'm sure our viewers want to know what are the kind of questions that are going to be posed to Anil Ambani. Of course, this is likely to be a questioning that takes place over the course of several hours. And is there likely to be cross-questioning also that takes place?
Yeah, so Alex, what typically happens is that, when a high profile like this and the top guy is summoned, they make the person sit for first few hours, and then the investigation lead, who is leading the entire investigation, they will send the team to that separate room where the person is seated, and then they start gradually, asking a few questions. Of course, they prepared a set of questions, the proper questionnaire based on the evidences, based on the documents, the audit finding, etc. But how they start is they start very gradually. And in this particular case, of course, the first up, the question will start with the quid pro quo allegations which Anil Ambani is facing with Yes Bank Rana Kapoor. And as we know, I've been reporting that how Yes Bank has, sanctioned loan to Reliance, and then it came back to the family office of Rana Kapoor. So that is one key allegation. The another one is that how those loans, the depositor money, has moved to several shell companies of ADAG group of companies, and the whole modus operandi with all, important documents and evidences. They are going to present that in front of Anil Ambani is what we are getting indication. And third, of course, the bank guarantee, the fake bank guarantee through this Odisha-based entity which who got arrested last week. And with all those statements which ED is recording in the sidelines with the Odisha entity, those questions and those evidences will also be presented in front of Anil Ambani is what sense we are getting at this point.
Got it. I will come back to you on a couple more questions, Shrimi, and we've got Agnidev Bhattacharya, who's outside the residence of Anil Ambani in Mumbai as well, just to give us a sense of what the response from the Ambani camp is. But before we do, we're joined by Jayanand Dehadri, who's a lawyer at the Supreme Court. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Mr. Dehadri. I just want to get some perspective on the legal ramifications of this. At this point, of course, it is questioning of a high-profile individual in the form of Anil Ambani. How much of a bearing will this have on him personally? Because we're talking about irregularities that had to do with companies that he promotes.
Hi, morning, and thank you for having me on your show this, today. See, I think all of what ED has said so far, to be fair, is in the realm of only allegations. And this is a part of their process. They're conducting an investigation. They have every right to do so. And in the course of that investigation, they have summoned an individual whom they believe to be in some manner having knowledge of this entire issue. So I wouldn't jump the gun right now and say that Mr. Ambani, is guilty of something, or that, he's going to be indicted or charged in some manner. This is all rather preliminary. Let's also not forget that the Enforcement Directorate in our country, unfortunately, has a very, very checkered history of prosecution. Most of their cases end in either discharge or acquittal, so they don't really end up prosecuting very many people. I mean, successfully prosecuting very many people. So now, of course, I have read the news reports like all of us have. I wanted to make one very important technical legal point that merely, if a company gets a loan and passing on that, those funds that have come in as a loan to other group entities doesn't per se become an offense of any sort. So this is a complete misreading of the law. In fact, there are judgments of the Indian courts which clarify this aspect, that merely because some loans have come from a lending agency and those loans have been shared amongst other group entities, doesn't by itself make it money laundering or some sort of criminal offense. So I think I would watch this very cautiously.
Yes.
I'm not convinced that this is going to have some very major impact either on Anil Ambani or his company. I would wait to watch what the developments are. And from my vantage point right now, I don't think this is a very big deal, frankly.
Okay. Mr. Dehadra, so that is one issue that you pointed out. The second issue, of course, is when arrest took place over the weekend or perhaps just before that in the bank guarantee case, where a fake bank guarantee was used. And seemingly, just on the face of it, and this is not a legal opinion, this is the opinion of somebody watching this from the sidelines, you can't not know that a fake guarantee is being used, especially when it is in the form of a State Bank of India guarantee. And so therefore, there is an element of a question that needs to be answered. Would you agree?
100%. I mean, if there is something that the agencies have found to be troubling, it's their duty, in fact, to go in and to ask all the right questions. Now, insofar as this Orissa issue is concerned with the bank guarantee, even with that, I would imagine, I'm not a judge and I'm nobody to really sit in judgment of any of these individuals. But I can tell you one thing, that the top person in any organization, it is impossible for that person to know what their sort of subordinates are doing down the chain. It's very difficult unless the agency is able to bring, the investigators are able to bring some concrete material to say that no, Mr. Anil Ambani knew exactly what was happening. He's participated in this conspiracy. He has asked for it to happen in a particular way. Now, unless all of these aspects come into the picture, I don't think it's fair to point, for ED is of course doing its duty, but I don't think it would be right to jump to any conclusions. Fine, there are some questions being raised.
But Mr. Dehadra, having said that, and a counterpoint, please correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember correctly, in the Tata case where Cyrus Mistry was asked certain questions, ultimately this was a defense that he was making, was that at the vantage that he was at, and because he was at the helm, he didn't have absolute control of everything that was taking place down the line. And if I were to draw a journalistic parlance, ultimately the buck stops at the editor. If there is a mistake in a newspaper, the editor is hauled up by the authorities, and so therefore the buck has to stop at the person who's at the helm. Would you agree?
I compliment your memory for recalling that, the aspect, what you mentioned about Cyrus Mistry. But I will say this to you. The buck, of course, stops at the top when it comes to, say, a civil liability. But when it comes to criminal issues, there is no vicarious liability. Anil Ambani cannot be held vicariously liable for a criminal act that he has not committed or someone down the line has committed. So, which is why I'm saying that only a fair investigation, once there is a full-blown investigation, all the facts will come out. So I agree with you that this is troubling. On the face of it, prima facie, this is troubling. Okay. But unless and until there is a very detailed investigation that comes out, there's no way for us to say that Anil Ambani had personal knowledge of any of this.
Wait, Mr. Dehadra, please allow me to interrupt you, because we're just seeing live visuals on the screen of Mr. Anil Ambani making his way, I believe, into the Enforcement Directorate, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to get clarification from the reporters on the ground, but seemingly a lot of reporters trying to get a soundbite from him at the moment. He seems to have entered the building. There we go. These are live visuals on your screen. This is, of course, the Enforcement Directorate headquarters in New Delhi. And this seemingly is going to be the start of the questioning by the Enforcement Directorate on the various issues that we have just spoken about. Of course, Mr. Dehadra was opining on what he thinks about the cases that are currently being investigated and questioned about. And we will be talking about some more of those details. He seems to have entered the building, Mr. Dehadra. So you were making a point. Apologies for having cut you off. Would you like to complete it?
No, to be balanced, to be perfectly balanced, I think, the ED also should be complimented in this case. Now, this is admittedly a very high-profile person. And there are some allegations that have come to the fore. And I think ED is also doing its duty. It's doing its statutory job. They're coming in and investigating, what these allegations are all about. So I think it's all right. It's very premature at this stage. Let them do their investigation. Let them find out what the facts are. I believe they're going to confront Mr. Ambani with that gentleman who's allegedly made that, the bank guarantee, who committed the bank guarantee fraud allegedly in Orissa. So when all of these things start in an investigation, in any honest investigation, there is a lot of field work that is needed. So let that field work happen. and then I think the truth will come out. But as I said earlier, merely, handing out loans from one entity to other entities, does that become an offense? Our courts have held that that is not an offense, and certainly not money laundering. Yeah.
Understood. And thanks so much for that clarification.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time that you've spent with us.